Hello, I hope that you're having a good day today. I hope that you are surviving this COVID-19 pandemic. I know that a lot of people are starting to try and learn how to cook thanks to the pandemic. And so I'm trying to make a few videos to address this. And today we are going to make pizza. So homemade pizza is actually very easy to make so long as you have the ingredients. So hopefully you can make it to the store or you already have the ingredients in your house. And then you'll be able to make yourself some homemade pizza. So this recipe has very minimal ingredients. It's mostly the stuff that you want to put on top of the pizza that will possibly make it so that you have to go to the store. I'd hope that you have flour in your house, and having yeast in your house is a good idea too, in case if you're stuck at home and you need to cook, like you probably are with this pandemic. So this pizza here that I made today is pepperoni pineapple. I know that I'm going to get a lot of people commenting on how pineapple does not belong on pizza, but oh well. So let's begin with the recipe. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get a cup of warm water. Make sure that's not hot, but make sure that's warm to the touch. And you're going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast, and then you're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. Now, what you got to make sure to do is you need to make sure to stir it up like so that the yeast will be fully integrated with the sugar and the water. And then once you have it like so, you're just going to set it aside for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the time that it will take for that yeast to basically come out of its dormant state, because yeast is a little microorganism, and what it'll do is it'll start to feed on the sugar that you put in there. So you're basically waiting for it to more or less come back to life and to start to multiply and start eating the sugar. But as you wait for the yeast to do that, what you can do is you can get the rest of the stuff that you need for the dough. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do for the batter, as you wait for the yeast to rise, is you're going to put in 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then you're going to get 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Right now my measuring cup is dirty, so I'm using the half cup. That's why I'm doing 4, but remember, it's just 2 cups total. And then you need some vegetable oil. This is where I'm pretty picky with what I use. I personally use olive oil, but you can truly use any vegetable oil out there. I suppose even if you wanted to, you could probably use coconut oil. But I find that I like the flavor most if I'm using olive oil. But as I said, that's just my own bias. So what you're going to do is you're going to add in 3 tablespoons of oil. After living in Spain, I got pretty biased and I started preferring extra virgin first cold press olive oil. It's a little more expensive, but I find it has a better flavor to it. But I imagine a lot of people out there don't notice the difference or are too cheap to try it. But that's just my bias. So basically that is all that you really can do until the yeast is done rising. So what I may do is I may put that here, and if I can zoom in nicely, let's see if it'll zoom in for me. I may just put that here and speed up the process to show how the yeast rises for all of you. Okay, so as you can see, it has risen a lot. Anyways, and now what you do is you take your yeast and you pour it in with the rest of the ingredients. And all you're going to do, to start at least, is you're just going to mix this as well as you can with a wooden spoon. So just make sure that you're getting all the flour in there, in with water. And it's really weird because ever since I started using this new type of flour, I think it's like that Robin Hood stuff, it's been taking more flour to make stuff compared to what it did before. I almost wonder if it's just not compact like other flours I buy or something. I don't understand. So all that you're going to do is you're going to get it to consistency where it doesn't easily stick onto the spoon. So it kind of becomes its own little blob of dough. Looks like my son wants to go for a little bike ride right now. But either way, right now you can see that it's not really sticking to the spoon as much. So at that point, you're just going to put a little bit of flour on top, just a little dash, and then with clean hands, which is very important during the COVID-19 time right now, you are going to start to knead it by hand. And you're wanting the dough to not stick really bad to your hand, so you're just going to keep sprinkling a little bit of flour on top as often as you need so it doesn't stick bad to your hands. But it will stick, of course, a little bit to your hands, but it shouldn't stick bad. So you do you when it comes to kneading the dough. But as I said, just keep adding a little more flour as needed so that it's not sticking to your hands bad. And it doesn't have to be kneaded terribly well. You just want to make sure that there's no clumps of flour in your dough or clumps of oily bits in there. Sometimes the oil and the flour will make these little clumps and you really have to knead those out. But as you can see, it's a pretty good little ball. There's no clumps in there. So I'm going to have to wash my hands quickly before I start showing you the rest. Anyways, now what you're going to do is you're going to get a cloth that is moist with warm water, and you're just going to cover your dough and you're going to give it 10 minutes to just rise. As you're waiting for your dough to rise, what you should do is you should start preheating your oven. So you want it, wrong way, you want it to be at 385. And so you're going to let your dough rise for about 10 minutes. So by the time your dough has risen, your oven should be almost fully preheated. Okay, now that your dough has risen for a bit, what I highly recommend that you just take a little bit of flour again and sprinkle it over, because that's going to help you spread the dough onto the pan. So you're just going to put that to the side, and now what you're going to do is you're going to get a cookie sheet. I personally prefer doing this instead of your traditional pizza pans because this fits a lot more on it, so it's less work to get the same amount of pizza. So what you're going to do next is you're going to put on about a tablespoon of olive oil, or whichever oil you prefer, and then you're going to get a brush like so, which you can find in the cooking aisle, and then you just spread the oil around just like so, and make sure that every part of the pan where you'll be putting the pizza is covered, and allow for the pizza to rise on the edges, and just like so. Pretty sure all the pan is covered in the olive oil now. And what I do is, of course, the oil makes it hard to spread the dough to a degree because the dough doesn't stick to the pan as well. but I always just sprinkle a tiny bit of flour over the pan because that just helps a little bit with the dough sticking. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your dough and you're going to spread it. It looks like the bottom of mine's a little sticky still, so don't be afraid to add a little bit more flour here and there, because that will make the whole process easier when spreading it. So you're just going to have fun and try to get the dough to cover the whole pan. And it's better to use a smushing motion instead of a stretching motion when doing this. Otherwise you will probably make the dough split, whereas if you're smushing it like so, it will not split. And this takes, I pulled it instead of smushed it there and it ripped, just as I said, but either way it's easy to fix. But just keep doing this until the whole pan's covered. Okay, once you have the dough spread out like that, you're probably going to need to wash your hands again. Okay, now that the dough is spread, you're going to get some spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce. They're honestly pretty much the same thing. And you can use any type that you want. And it sounds like my toddler's having fun reading a book right now. And you're just going to basically put on as much sauce as you want. I know some people that like their pizza drowning in sauce, whereas I don't like a ton of sauce on, but I like enough on there so that you can taste it for sure. And you're going to spread it round until you cover all the dough except for the crust edges. Or if you like to, you can of course cover them too, but it's just all personal preference, as I say so often in my videos. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put this in the oven, which should be preheated now to 385, for just about 4 to 5 minutes. I personally like to do that because I find that the crust gets a lot crispier, and I find that I prefer it that way because then the sauce gets a little dried out compared to being really soupy in the end. Okay, now that it has been in the oven for 5 minutes, you're going to start putting on your toppings. So, of course, go to any pizza restaurant and you'll see that there are hundreds of options that you can do with pizzas, especially when you're making your own pizza, or you're doing that build your own pizza option that lots of restaurants have. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to be making a pizza that hopefully my toddler likes, who you can hear in the background. And I'm going to start with pepperoni first. And I like lots of pepperoni. Okay, now after the pepperoni, I always like to put quite a bit of onion on because I like the flavor, and it also just adds a little bit of bulk to the pizza that's a little healthier. And I think my son is actually agreeing with me that onion is really good on pizza right there. And then I'm putting on pineapple. Now I know a ton of you people are going to put in the comments that you hate pineapple because I have another video about how to make frozen pizzas for idiots. And I put pineapple on that one too. And yeah, there were lots of comments on there about how you have to be insane to put pineapple on pizza. But here I go. I am going to make a sin and put pineapple on pizza. Okay, now my wife really likes jalapenos on her pizza, So I suppose I'll be nice and put some on. Okay, now lastly what you're going to do is you're going to put, well, at least what I'm going to do lastly is to put the cheese on. If that's something that you are able to have on your pizza, if you're not lactose intolerant. So you're just going to add the cheese on top, or whatever else you want on your pizza. And I personally really like getting cheese onto the very edges of the crust because I really like that crispy cheese that you get on the edges. But that's just my preference. I know some people that can't stand having cheese on the edges of the crust, but I think they're crazy. But maybe we'll see what people say in the comments below. And of course you can add as little or as much cheese as you like onto the pizza. Now that you have the cheese on the pizza, what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the oven for 10 minutes to start. And then you're going to see what it's like at that point. And then you'll probably be spinning it around in your oven so that you're getting even heat for all the parts of your pizza. So here we go into the oven for 10 minutes to start. Okay, now the timer went off for the 10 minutes. You can see that the cheese is fully melted and everything's starting to cook well. So you're just going to spin that and put the timer on for another 10 minutes. Okay, as you can see, the pizza is getting pretty close to being done. So what you're going to do to finish it off is you're just going to rotate it one more time and put it in for just 5 more minutes. Now the last 5 minutes are up and the pizza is done. So all you have to do is you have to take that out of the oven. Make sure to turn off your oven now, and you're going to let it cool off for a bit. I recommend that you let it cool off for about 4 to 5 minutes before you start trying to eat it, just so it's not super hot and you don't burn your mouth then. And that is how you make pizza. It's very simple and it's a great recipe. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Just click the link below and then you'll know whenever a new video comes out. I'm trying to do at least 2 videos a month. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. That way, if you miss the notification on YouTube, you will find out there that there are new videos on my channel. And sometimes I may have other interesting things posted up there. Anyways, I hope that you enjoy the video and have a good day.